Ever wondered how BCCI is selecting the players for cricket matches? Listed here are the scores of two cricket players in an ODI series, that is Dinesh Karthik and Shikhar Dhawan. Dinesh Karthik scored 450s out of 5 matches, while Shikhar Dhawan was at his best in the first match with a score of 107 runs, then found strings of low scores in 2 straight matches. But in the last 2 matches, he managed well to score 50s. Now, my question is, which batsman is more consistent to be considered as an opening batsman in your opinion? When analyzing batsmen, consistency is one of the factors which is frequently looked into. Consistency is not only about scoring 50s or 100s frequently, but also maintaining uniform gaps between such scores. How precisely this idea of consistency can be measured? Is there any statistical method to measure the consistency of these batsmen? Yes, it is called coefficient of variation. Now, let's delve deeper into it. Coefficient of variation, it is a measure of variability which is used to compare two series. More clearly, I could say it is used to compare the degree of variation from one dataset value to the other dataset value. When we have two series with the same mean but they are measured in different units, there also one can use the coefficient of variation because coefficient of variation is independent of the units. Therefore, one can define coefficient of variation as the measure of variability which is independent of units and is denoted as CV in short. In statistics, CV is defined as the ratio of the standard deviation to the mean. Mathematically, it is represented as CV is equal to sigma by x bar into 100, where sigma refers to the standard deviation and x bar is the mean which is not equal to 0. As you can see, it is a dimensionless quantity. Now you may think, what is the purpose of this equation, or how can we use this equation for comparing two dataset values? In order to compare the two dataset values, we need to first find the coefficient of variation for each set of values. Then we have to compare the CV of both. Now suppose if the second series is having a greater CV than the first series, then we can say the second series is more variable than the first. In general, we can say the series which is having greater CV is said to have more variability than the other. Now, if we speak in terms of consistency, which series is more consistent, first or second? I would say the first series is more consistent because it is less variable due to its lower coefficient of variation. Thus, we can say coefficient of variation is used to compare the variability of two series using CV. Second, to compare the consistency of multiple data sets. Now, how to compare two frequency distributions with same mean? First, start with the main equation. We have a CV of first series as sigma 1 by x1 bar into 100. And similarly, we have CV of second series as sigma 2 by x2 bar into 100. And we know that x1 bar is equal to x2 bar. So, we put it as x bar. So, you can see CV depends on the values of standard deviation. So, the two CVs can be compared based on the values of their respective standard deviation. That is, greater the value of standard deviation, greater will be the coefficient of variation, hence more variable. Similarly, lesser value of standard deviation means lesser CV, hence it will be the more consistent data set. Now, coming back to the example with which we started, our aim was to find which batsman was more consistent. We need to compare both batsmen. For that, we need to find their coefficient of variation. The coefficient of variation of Dinesh Karthik is given by sigma 1 by x1 bar into 100. And similarly, Shikhar Dhawan, sigma 2 by x2 bar into 100. So, we need to determine sigma 1, x1 bar, sigma 2 and x2 bar, where x bar represents the mean, which is found by dividing the sum of the observations by the number of observations, where sigma is the standard deviation and is given by square root of 1 by n into summation I equal to 1 to n xi minus x bar the whole square. This equation you have already learned. Now, let's find it one by one. First, we will calculate the CV of Dinesh Karthik. For that, we need to determine the mean. So, the mean is found using the equation, that is sum of observation divided by total number of observation. So, putting the values, we get mean as 252 by 5, which is equal to 50.4. Now, to find the standard deviation, we have to make a table showing the values of x, xi minus x bar, the whole square. Now, when x is equal to 35, xi minus x bar is minus 15.4 and xi minus x bar the whole square is 237.16. Likewise, I have calculated the values for the remaining set of values and the standard deviation is found by using the equation. Now, we need to find the sum of all this xi minus x bar the whole square. That is, add up all the values in the last column, third column. We get the summation of xi minus x bar the whole square. Alright. Now, what is the value of n? We have 5. Right. So, value of n is equal to 5. Substituting the value, that is 1 by 5 into the summation, we get it as 317.2. which is equal to square root of 63.36 and we get it the standard deviation as 7.96. Now, coming to the Shikhar Dhawan, the mean of Shikhar Dhawan is obtained by using the same formula, that is mean is equal to sum of observation by number of observation. We get it as 49.6 as the mean. Now, we have to find the standard deviation. Now, similarly, like we have seen earlier, make a similar table showing the values just as we have done before, showing the values of y, yi minus y bar, the whole square. Now, taking all the summation, we get the value as 7089.2 and the standard deviation we have to find it using this equation, and here we get, substituting the value in this, we get the standard deviation as 37.65 and the calculation is left to you. Now, substituting the values in the equation, that is CV is equal to sigma 1 by x1 bar into 100. So, substituting the values in the equations and on solving, we get the CV of Dinesh Karthik as 15.79. That is how 7.96 divided by 50.4 into 100. And similarly, Shikhar Dhawan CV will be 37.65 into 100 by 49.6, we get it as 75.90. Thus, the one with lower CV is said to be less variable, hence more consistent. So, in this case, Dinesh Karthik can be considered to be the more consistent opening batsman. And the other batsman with a wide range of scores, such as scoring 100 in one game but falls in the next, is viewed as unpredictable and therefore inconsistent. Now, consider this simple example to help put things in the right perspective. Suppose a man is looking to make a new investment. He searches for assets that offer reliable returns in order to be safe. The concept of CV can prove extremely handy when making investment decisions. Naturally, the investment having a lower degree of CV is the safer one. So, we have seen coefficient of variation is widely used in finance industry and many more. With that, we have covered all aspects related to coefficient of variation. Now, let's have a quick recap.
Manorama Horizon. Learning made simple.